teams bring to Game 3 here. So again, this is a Premier League presentation. I'm Blaze, and also here with Vikramon, going to be jumping on into No Tidehunter versus Virtus.pro Game 3. How's it going, man?
It's going great. I'm really excited for this third game, and I think it goes back to the fundamentals. So the first game, VP comes out swinging, they get the kills, they go all over the map, and they just completely control No Tidehunter, and especially they control S4. Game 2, completely the opposite. S4 is all over the place, he generates opportunities, Loda follows through on it and gets tons of farm. So I think Game 3 takes us right back to the beginning. VP have two missions, and they're really the ones that have to go out and do stuff. They have to watch S4 and control him. They have to make sure that he doesn't win mid by a dramatic margin. They have to make sure that he isn't just roaming and generating kill opportunities. They have to play aggressive and take the fight to No Tidehunter. If they do that successfully, like they did in Game 1, we could see them put together an incredibly commanding performance, and Airman's just gonna, you know, shock us all again with how good he is. But if they don't, we could see something like Game 2 again.
Yeah. So I think right now Virtus.pro is debating between the bans of the Wisp or the Lone Druid. Generally speaking, they second pick the Lone Druid so that it cannot be picked up in the second and third slots for No Tide. But No Tide knows that game, and if they really, really want Bulldog on it, interesting. Gyrocopter hasn't been picked for No Tide in this entire series, mostly because Airman has just been running it so effectively here, but knowing how big of a priority that is, maybe No Tide was looking to pick it up themselves to play a little bit of Virtus.pro's own drafting style in picking up the pick to deny it from Airman. And also Ake can run a very, very effective supportive gyrocopter, or Loda can carry it nicely with him. So I think that might have been a concern, but now Wisp and Lone Druid, two options right off the bat. Which one do you think they're going to go for? And oh, never mind, Batrider actually is one of those that slipped on through there, and it's definitely a great hero. It wasn't used to great effect the last time around, but in general, it can accomplish a lot. Lone Druid and Magnus to counterpick them. How do you feel right now in the draft? Who has the right idea going on in?
I really thought that neither team would spring for the Magnus this game, because it has been a trap in the first two games. But if they make it work, I mean, Magnus is a huge upside hero. Now, I think that the reason the Gyro got banned is if VP were not planning to draft the Gyro, which they certainly weren't, No Tide has absolutely no problem drafting it. One of the strengths of the No Tidehunter drafting pattern is they'll take Gyro in the first three, and then you have no idea if it's going to be a number 4 Gyro or a number 1 Gyro. And in early stages of a draft in any game, the more you can have an open, like the more open slots you have for later in the draft, the more of sort of a psychological or positional advantage you gain. And so I think it's a smart ban if they were actively not planning to draft it. Now, the decision No Tider have to make right now is, do we go for the Wisp against VP? Because VP will not take the Wisp. Absolutely not. So the question is, do NTH want it?
Yeah,
looks like no. Ah, looks like yes.
Okay, so they get it. They get it. I mean, NS has played the Wisp before, but again, it's like you said, they don't have to play that to get their aggressive style out. They just go for tons of smokes. They get in the right position, get the good flanking opportunities, and play some good old non-relocate oriented gank Dota. So it works out nicely, and they don't really rely on it. But No Tide, finding that opportunity, seeing it open, they're like, well, we're kind of been throwing this bone, we want to utilize it. So they're going to go on in. Virtus.pro now have to pick up a lot more durable heroes or more 5-man Dota-oriented heroes. Magnus, great for 5-manning. Lone Druid, not so much. He likes to kind of do things on his own. Split push, farm the jungle, whatever. And if Wisp can get some aggressive wards up, they can really capitalize on that when he goes to synergize with whatever carry that they end up picking up. Chaos Knight, Tiny, Sven, Lifestealer, even a Faceless Void for Loda. All those great options here. And Virtus.pro is probably going to take a number of them off the board.
Yeah, I mean, the typical thing when somebody takes Wisp third is that you then start banning out Wisp combo heroes. Now, if they feel very confident, they don't necessarily need to do that. If, for instance, they're going to take something like a Luna, then maybe they just want to leave the Chaos Knight and stuff open, bait No Tidehunter to take that, and then try to just 5-man Dota their way to victory. Works sometimes, and then sometimes it leads you to a 70-minute Ancient Rush, but, you know, it's a coin toss.
Most definitely, most definitely. Now, one thing I noticed thrown around in the chat a lot was a bunch of different polls about who's going to win the game and stuff like that. If you want an official poll, check out facebook.com and search for the Premier League there. We actually have a poll ongoing there, and you guys can share your opinions because, I mean, we've seen both these teams doing a great style, using their own potential here, but as the draft goes on forward, it's anybody's game in my mind. There's plenty of different ways to go for it, and I think this is one of the more interesting matches just because these teams are so unpredictable. They pull out with such cool things. And if you guys want to share your opinion on that, you can jump in on that here. But one thing to commentate on, as far as in the grand scope of the Premier League, right now Virtus.pro is number 1. They have not lost a game, whereas No Tidehunter is sitting at number 5. The top 4 go to the playoffs, and we only have a few weeks left, even though No Tide might have a few extra games to run because of the fact that they did have a couple of postpones. So with that, No Tidehunter really could use this win. If they can beat out Virtus.pro, the rest of the teams that they're going to be going up against should be a downhill battle. They're just rolling on through. Not to say that any of the other teams are pushovers, but in this circumstance, with Virtus.pro being the cream of the crop as far as the rankings go, if they can take this win, they're going to be well on their way to securing one of those top 4 slots.
I think you know the playoff bracket a little better than me, but Virtus.pro doesn't have the easiest schedule in the world. They do have Team Liquid, who are very strong coming up, and they have Empire, who are they're strong, but VP, they're like VP's kryptonite. I think VP's lost like 12 times to them or something ridiculous.
Yeah, but one thing to keep in mind is that they can take this win against Virtus.pro, then they don't have to have so much hinging on those big fights against Empire and Team Liquid. They have to beat at least one of those 3 teams to guarantee a spot at all. So if you can get it early, then you don't have to be as stressed about the future ones here. So it could definitely help them out. But along with that, we do see the draft proceeding on through nicely. Against this Rubik is a solid pick against the Batrider, but questionable in my mind against the Chen and the Wisp. I mean, Holy Persuasion is great. The Test of Faith, not so much. Hand of God, when you can get it. But against the Wisp, it's terrible. You steal one, you pretty much steal half of a spell. Wisp is all about combining his kit together with multiple abilities, and other than the spirits, you're not going to really be able to imitate the Wisp in his potential to synergize with other heroes and to make things accomplish very nicely. Now we do see Virtus.pro banning out Global Presence with the Prophet, a long-range initiation with the Clockwork, and then that Chaos Knight for the synergization of Wisp, kind of symbiotically buddy-buddy gank time, kind of going on through. So I think
I like the really Prophet ban a lot. I think the Prophet ban very good. Good Bulldog hero. Amazing combo with Lifestealer. If they had chosen, that would give NTH some serious Globo Dodo. But not to be outdone, NTH's ban's also really good. Undying could just overwhelm them in a try versus try situation, especially since they have that Wisp combo, which is potentially soft. And the Luna ban I love, because Luna really lets you just clump up. In concert with the Lone Druid, just clump up and push. I mean, it's quite good also to defend yourself against that sort of Chaos Knight-like play. Of course, Chaos Knight taken out. And the question is, who are NTH going to pair with Wisp? Because there's still a lot of options remaining in the pool.
Well, they're trying to go for quick pickoffs, so something gank-oriented here. I would definitely look at the 2 options to be the Lifesteal and the Timing, but going up against a Lone Druid and a Magnus as a Lifestealer, it doesn't seem like he's going to get as much benefit as you would hope for that kind of a selection.
And still SD and Bane available if you want them.
Exactly. So in that scenario, they're banning out the Luna because they don't want to have to go against a dual carry setup, but also Lifestealer picking it up would mean that the enemy can't. But they're going to leave that open. They're going to leave that a little bit of a surprise as they pick up a Brewmaster here. So they might be looking to run the Batrider on the off lane / jungle, and then have Brewmaster in the mid for S4.
I like the Brew. Another fairly defensible hero for S4. There is a problem with one. I've never seen VP pick this, or at least not recently, but this does open them up to Disruptor play, who's quite strong both against Wisp plus X, and he's amazing against Brewmaster. I don't know if you remember the Team Liquid Redefining Madness games, where Bulba just, like, crushed Cinder and Spirit on Brewmaster with Disruptor, but Disruptor's really good against Brew.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, it's just pretty much caging the pandas, combining the kinetic field on top of that, or getting the Static Storm to make sure that he can't cast things up. But another thing to mention is that Brewmaster has a lot of issues going up against Rubik as well. His cast animations are so slow, every single one of them. So if Rubik is patient and precise, a quality that's very often seen among Virtus.pro supports, then you're going to be seeing an opportunity to steal up the Primal Split, or even just a Thunderclap with no animation delay. Either way, you have a very powerful spell in your hands and in your arsenal, and from there, I think that they can make a lot out of their team fight. I mean, when you have a Magnus ulti and follow it up with a Brewmasters, you're going to be able to disable anybody you find that's a threat. And that might force No Tide into a Lifestealer setup to counteract their own hero.
Perhaps. I mean, it's a very interesting draft so far. I think both these teams just excellent drafters and really digging deep into their bag of tricks for this reserve time. I mean, both teams play... And Jakiro, okay. So the problem with Jakiro, very slow. If Wisp plus X do get the jump on him, I mean, that's a pretty dead Jakiro. Uh, they have the option, for instance, of Ricky Maru, which
Holy crap!
Yes, finally,
Nice, nice.
I finally got one.
That is something.
So that's a no tide pocket pick, is the Ricky Wisp. And Ricky Wisp is interesting because obviously when Ricky Blink strikes, that is an instantaneous tether. Now this is, and they go for Phantom Lancer. Well, okay.
If they're running away, they're typically hits their back. Does he tether them if he blink strikes when they're facing the opposite direction?
Sorry, say again?
If they're running away from the Wisp and Riki, and then the Blink Strike comes through, will the tether hit? Because I was under the impression that it wouldn't, but it's been a while since I've seen that specific unique combo.
It probably will not if they're facing away from you at the time.
Okay, so that's something to keep in mind, but we do see the Phantom Lancer come on out. A lot of people were calling out Cancel Lancer in chat, and Airman is willing to oblige. A lot of people don't like this hero because pretty much he shuts down any potential to fight him late game, but one fortunate thing is that no Titan doesn't have to. They picked up a gank-oriented hero, Riki, and with that, Loda gets one big item, and suddenly he's raring to go to farm things away. So this can be very, very nice for him, starting him off Poor Man's Shield, etc. And I think if they can find the right opening, that no Titan can break this game wide open with a couple of quick pickoffs.
Sure. I like both these teams' drafts. They're very different game plans. VP wants to take it late. The No Tide have horrible anti-push. I mean, no two ways about it. They will not be able to anti-push the Phantom Lancer late. But the problem is, this is sort of exactly what VP kind of don't want to do as a general strategy against No Tide Hunter, because No Tide Hunter generally takes the fight to them, and VP will not be able to take the fight to No Tide Hunter with this lineup, at least not early. So while we're still before game, Blaze, make a call. Who's going to win?
Oh, it's a really tough call. It's pretty much, I think it's all about who makes the plays early on. If Admiral Bulldog can get some really cool initiations with the Brewmaster, I think that they will outright just be able to pull things out. We've seen that the Batrider can be rendered pretty ineffective by good counter initiation, and I think Virtus Pro has that a ton with Telekinesis and other spells like that. So I think it relies a lot on the gank-oriented heroes, Loda, and Admiral Bulldog on the Brewmaster. If that works out for them, they guaranteed to have this game, but Virtus Pro, like I said, had the late game. So, I mean, as far as this draft goes, and as far as these two teams go, I still think it's anybody's. But it really, I think if it's before the 30-minute mark, a huge advantage for No Tide, there's nothing Virtus Pro can do.
Honestly, I'm going to go a little stronger than that. I think No Tide have this. It's theirs to lose. The VP could definitely win. No problem. Airman's a great farmer. He's a great carry. Past a certain point, No Tide will simply lose. Like, there's a point past which they just won't be able to do very much at all. The problem is, time and time again when these two teams face each other, No Tide doesn't really let it last that long, at least not without causing a lot of pain on VP's side. And their success rate with Wisp against Virtus Pro in particular is historically pretty good. The one time they did Wisp Riki against VP, they actually lost, so there is that going for it. And the Riki is soft to a lot of things, especially early. It's not a CK. Actually, is there action top? No, there's not. So I don't know. I would have to give it to No Tide. I feel like VP's strategy is good against any team in general, and it's a strategy they can pull off, but it's not the strategy I would have liked to see them deploy in this game.
Yeah, so we do see kind of Admiral Bulldog style pulling a double stack of creeps kind of coming on through back to his safe position down by his tier 1 tower. That's going to put KSI in a good position to generate some experience and move in towards better levels very, very quickly. It did cost him a lot as far as his bear goes, but it's a price he's willing to pay with the cooldown just about back up. But
trouble for Magnus.
Oh, really? Yeah, he actually did get caught on a pretty bad spot here with S4. So many napalm stacks. One more will put it at 7, and a couple right clicks can finish it. However, big damage coming on out, and it's actually going to be a 1-for-1 with Magnus picking up the first blood and the experience advantage here. Huge, huge action there. That Shockwave connected perfectly despite his slow turn rate, and that allowed it for the Magnus to actually come out on top. Now the bottle still comes out for S4, but just showing too much aggression. The tower auto attacks coming on through. The napalm was insane. I understand why he went for it, but when that skewer happened as well, because S4 wanted to get the Firefly on top of him, that put him in a terrible spot, and TMW was able to come out very, very much ahead in that exchange.
Yep, little too close to the tower. And just a quick shout out to people who are, maybe relatively new or not that familiar with the game. This Magnus, you can see he built Magic Wand. This is the thing to make against Batrider, and it's literally what saved him that game. Otherwise, he was dead. Yeah. But he just managed to get enough regen. He might still be dead.
Yeah, he's in a pretty bad spot here with Lone Druid picking up the Invisibility Rune. Ake already here with the Test of Faith. That is too much for him to handle. Last Napalm will make sure he's going to drop.
Wand.
Yeah, he's still
have it.
He actually going to salve up, and they don't have anything they can do to finish this off here. So that is kind of surprising to me. The napalm stack just not enough. to actually negate him, and EGM actually can take some hits. Yeah, he's alright. I mean, there's nothing going to kill him, but...
it depends on how bold TMW's feeling.
He's feeling a little bit too bold. He caught in with a Hellbear. He has to actually skewer back up outside the Roar Spit, but the Test of Faith is so close. Oh, that was like 10 HP away from finishing him off here, but the Magic Wand bringing him back up to safe levels, and we actually see KSI transition in towards the mid lane, later on into the jungle. They just want to actually try to get some stable golden experience, especially... since they know the top lane is completely won. They actually did a little bit of advantage in the mid lane. We see a lot of roaming from the supports, so they don't feel the bottom supports are going to get too much, but they also can't directly contest the Riki, even with Lone Druid right here.
Exactly, and the thing is, that was a lot of time wasted for no Tidehunter supports to rotate around, and no time wasted at all for VP didn't move anybody. I mean, they moved the Lone Druid, who was already sort of roaming around. And so 3 lives saved for the Magic Wand so far. I'm just going to keep a running tally, because he survived 3 times that he should have died just because that Magic Wand.
Yeah, very, very effective. And actually, I mean, that last one, he didn't have any real damage threats to follow it up. After the Test of Faith came on through, I don't think he would have died, but he would have definitely had to retreat, as now he's out in an okay position, though he does bring down a lot of salves back and forth. Either way, one thing to note is Brewmaster's doing very, very poorly up top. He is sitting right now. The creep wave finally heading in his direction, so he's going to feel a little bit better after that, but sitting only at level 2, now about to hit level 3 from this creep wave. Either way. Up top, Haste Rune coming out for S4. Haste active on this means pretty much a dead Rubik. There is going to be Jakiro looking for a big Ice Path, but NS is pretty much screwed. Yeah, these last right clicks are going to be enough to finish him off. And salving this, that's a waste of a salve. He's still going to be able to pursue on through, but he's trying to keep on baiting for Airman to come on through. Ice Path to block out. He's trying to trap him on in, but he's stacking up the Napalm once more. He's so darn quick. He's going to get a second kill. S4 just showing his style, bottling right back up and walking away with 2.
I don't think they can afford to let S4 take so many kills early. I think Jakiro staying in was... I'm going to steal your word and say it was a little cheeky. Like, they thought that they could trap the Batrider in, but it's a haste Batrider. He gets around really fast, and he deals tons of damage.
And had not used Firefly at all, so...
Yeah, exactly. Pretty tough situation that they put themselves in there. And S4, the bigger he gets, the tougher it is to play against no Tidehunter. Because like I mentioned last game, when S4 is doing well, they look so unbeatable. Like, it makes everybody else look like even better than they already are, which is quite good.
Yeah, it's definitely impressive. And now we do see EGM going to be able to pick up some levels here, moving in over past 3.5. But they want to also put pressure here on not only the creep waves, but after that the tower, doing some damage to the bear real quick. But the big thing is these skeletal summons. The Dark Soul Summoner, getting those put up is going to allow them to tank up the tower all the more. They do have a Basilius up on Ake as well, so this is going to be a lot of damage coming out, forcing out Santa. He has to TP to counter push, and that's going to be a lot of time that he is spending where he doesn't want to be. He wants to make sure that top is covered, that Brewmaster is getting absolutely nothing, but we do see Emerald Bulldog bouncing back now halfway through level 4, and he has those boots of speed to work with here, so...
Yeah, considering how tough, I mean, Brewmaster, not that common of a solo hard laner, but he's done a great job. Actually, a big engagement in mid again. TMW, once again in trouble. He pops the Magic Wand yet again, and S4 does back off because of that.
Yeah.
Brewmaster, if he hits 6 in anywhere near a timely fashion, NTH will be very happy with that, honestly. Yeah. And, I mean, Loda and... Sorry, Airman are both farming very, very well. I did want to shout out the Orb of Venom on Loda. That's your Ricky Wisp play right there. Just that little bit more slow before you get Diffusal. I actually really like that.
Yeah, it's extremely powerful and very, very underrated, especially inside the cloud. Every little millisecond you get inside that cloud means they're that much more incapable. We do see Lasso coming on through onto TMW. They're going to bring him right back on into Ake, who looks for that ensnare. However, he skewers perfectly with it. Gets the RP off on S4. Slowed a lot, but this Flame Break will do a lot of damage, bouncing him back to the southwest. But Jakiro coming on with that Ice Path, ASI forcing him away, meaning it's not going to be enough damage, it's not going to be enough opportunity to finish him off here, and again, the Magic Wand instrumental in his survival, so really, really great for him.
Don't think I'm not counting it up. I'll give a full report at the end.
Sure.
I decided not to do live updates, but there will be a reckoning for that Magic Wand. I mean, he saves himself again. Honestly, a little bit of a flubbed Flame Break. Flame Break's really hard to aim perfectly. Like, you have to make sure that you're bouncing people the right way. Trouble top, actually, I think Rubik's gonna go down.
Yeah, with Loda here, no problem at all. He does get stunned by the Telekinesis briefly, but a couple of quick right clicks. That is a rank 4 backstab, so even if he doesn't have smoke, with the Agi Treads, he does so much damage. It's like 0.75 scaling on top of those already, 1.25 on top of his 1.0. So every single agi he gets effectively adds a 2 1/4 damage to his right clicks as long as he's hitting from behind, which in that case, of course, he is.
That's where rogues do it from, yeah. So Brewmaster hits level 6, and I think they're happy with this. Again, I said if they hit it by like 9 minutes, they're happy. Because this is a big teamfight disruptor. And against Magnus, it's quite good. Because if you lift the Magnus for 6 seconds when the other team wants to start the fight, by the time that Magnus comes down, it's not Magnus time anymore. Like, Magnus time is over.
Magnus is going to be able to pick up an Invis rune here. That's pretty big, but he's waiting for his courier to deliver the bottle, perhaps. And if he does now, okay, that would be instantly denied by the Chen creep here. So, good movement. Going to now pick up his bottle from the safety and also get his arcane boots. So, he has a lot of mana to work with. He is invisible. RP up in 15 seconds, which is just barely enough time for him to use that invisibility in conjunction with that ulti. But whether or not he's willing to commit it to a Wisp just to shut him down is another question. Because Wisp is at his weakest, levels 1 through 5. He's actually very limited in his contributions, and it looks like it's just going to be a quick skewer kill. No problem at all, just putting him right back up. He does actually telekinesis away, but there's enough long-range damage that he's going to drop immediately.
Good tether, honestly. I mean, Eggum's super solid. That was good. That was the best play he could have made. It just wasn't likely to save him.
Yeah.
Can you explain something real quick to me, Blaze?
Sure.
Alright, so Jakiro. Why not the 1 rank in Liquid Fire? And people always do this, and I never understand it. Maybe you can explain it to me.
Because the first rank, it has a gigantic cooldown of 20 seconds. It's a 20% slow. It's a nice thing for pushing towers, but right now they're looking to control the map and trying to get an extra slow, extra stun, extra damage on top of the Magnus ultis, things like that. It just doesn't help them hardly at all in their team fight. So it's about putting damage on towers and a little bit of extra damage over time compared to Dual Breath, another rank in that. But generally speaking, you're going to be just focusing on your spellcast, and he has the mana to support it. It's not going to be hard that way.
That's true. Alright, fair enough. It's just, I mean, it is nice to have the attack slow, I guess, but Ricky's attack isn't that fast that it's a huge problem yet either, I guess.
Yeah, and of course he does have a limited attack range. I mean, he's only a 400 range hero, so going in right up to a Riki to get an auto attack off, how often is that going to be the case? And only for 5 seconds, 20%. A single rank, take it or leave it.
Alright, fair enough. I mean, the good news for VP, KSI is playing pretty safe. Airman is getting his farm. He's moving towards, probably... Do you think he's going to do drums first, or just go straight Diffusal?
Diffusal. He's actually got the Alacrity on the courier right now. So.
Yeah, I see it now. Yeah, good
so he's all set for that, and that's going to help a lot because it's harder to get a kill with sentries than it is with dust, and Diffusal does allow you to dispel that aspect of it. So it also helps
big.
Doing kind of double slow. He doesn't have a bunch of things to stay on target right now. I mean, Jakiro's good, Rubik's good, but those cooldowns are decently in length, and if he wants to be able to clean up when they're having an advantage, then that's going to be the item that'll set him up for it.
Right. The other great thing, of course, is against Brew. Brew is one of those heroes with just a terrible mana pool. That's actually his main deficiency, is that his mana pool is really bad. If you can burn down a lot of the mana over Brew...
we do see an Napalm right off the bat. Relocate coming on through. They are actually going to go and just pop off that smoke too late. TMW skewers away. Big damage coming out, but the Hand of God, insane healing going across, but there is a big macro player on top of that reverse polarity, and it's doing too much damage. Riki half-life. Tread swaps to try to survive, but Loda is going to... He might get out. Cyclone. He is actually going to survive in Biz. Back in the mid-action, we do see KSI dropping quickly to the Pandas. Brewmaster Spirits. Now TMW Bob back, coming back on in, but he doesn't have Skewer back up yet. Now, nice clamp coming through from Bulldog. He's on the run, and it looks like he will be able to get on out. Meanwhile, S4 took a pounding from that. Oh my gosh, he just needs to blink. Blink, no, he gets hit. Too much damage coming out with the Lance, and he is dead. He had the blink up. He didn't use it. Now Admiral Bulldog with too much damage from TMW, and Santa should drop as well. Flame break to make sure he can't get away, and that is a nice, easy pickoff.
I mean, did they expect Airman to come with them? He's, you know, PL. He's not going to come with you to go kill people.
Especially out of mana. I mean, you can't contribute that much more with just raw right clicks, even with Tranquils in their current considered overpowered state. Either way, yeah, that is too much for them. They do get the pickoff that they were looking for, but it just doesn't add up appropriately, especially since Mag bought back, and we've already talked like a dozen times about how much he needs that blink.
Yeah, I mean, in the words of a wise man, at what cost did they get that pickoff? I mean, they lost so very much. Of course, Airman doesn't die, but the rest of them are getting pounded, and I mean, it's got to be reflecting in the levels, and it does. I mean, Lone Druid, Jakiro, Rubik, all 6. I mean, thank God at least Jakiro and Rubik have their ultimates, because otherwise they'd be in really bad shape.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Chen 8, Brewmaster 8. Brewmaster was huge that game. Like, he lifted, that fight. He lifted PL for ages. He was all over the place.
I'd like to apologize for our Twitch chat moderators for 2 minutes from now. But anyways, beyond that, a lot of actions going on through. We're going to see S4 with that invisibility, looking at Santa, going to find an opportunity on him as soon as they're ready to go. Loda in the action. Actually, Flame breaks him out of the smoke, but it doesn't matter. TMW's actually stuck in it, and he can only find one Invis hero. And let's look at that detection count. We see sentries on Santa and an S, but we see the relocate, which is much more relevant with the Brewmaster here. The RP does come on both of them, but they're still going to be able to get a lot of damage out. Good clap across, and Loda's just going to go to town here. EGM will be brief, but it will be enough to pull out Admiral Bulldog if they feel, yeah, he needs to get on out. But S4 and Loda still on in here, going to pick off the Rubik really quickly. Nice Hand of God, trying to close on KSI, but he does get that TP, and there's nothing to stop that there. So, either way.
What a blink from S4 right there. He could have easily have died. Excellent timing on that. Like, in the instant it came up. And he solo killed Airman, basically, also. Like, S4 is once again dictating the pace of the game, and against no Tidehunter, and VP know this. It's not like they don't know this. It's just that he's so freaking good at Dota. Like, it's just difficult to deal with.
Yeah. I want to talk about one synergy that you generally don't see in common matches, but No Tidehunter are drafting up the Wisp alongside the Chen. One thing I love about this is when you pop off that Hand of God when he is tethered up, you get 2.5 times that effect. 1 time primary, and then 1.5 from the tether heal. So you're looking at a really, really high burst of healing on one target. You're looking at 500 at rank 1, and it just goes up from there. So tether plus Hand of God, insane for single target healing, as well as, of course, healing the entire team, and it allows them to play as aggressive as they have been.
I mean, it's a tough situation for VP. They haven't lost. So, I mean, whenever you have a PL, you haven't outright lost. And he has pretty good farm. What's his GPM like? I mean, he's got about 350, substantially lower than Batrider, was actually higher than Ricky, which is just disgusting, but, you know. I mean, Ricky's not an amazing farmer, especially early. So, if they can drag it out somehow, if they can play very defensively, and they are putting those wards up, they're getting the vision, they're keeping people, you see that the people are actually out of line of sight of PL, so that if PL gets jumped on, they can jump in and help with the CC. Putting down the sentries, they're playing it exactly correctly. But they're playing the game that NTH knew they would be playing, and the game that NTH sort of expected. And I feel like VP's best game in this series was the one where they came out and did something that NTH didn't expect.
Yeah. This is definitely changing the pace of the game here. We do see S4 jumping on in to relocate to help him out a little bit. They're always raring to go for these picks, and Blink Dagger can set that up nicely. Now we see Santa going to drop as well, no problem at all. And they were actually hoping for PL to be nearby. That's why they popped off the dust, but no such luck. Airman is a little bit more cautious than that. But really, this is part of that global presence. They're still glad that they banned out the Nature's Prophet, because that would have been terrible. But now that they have the Blink on the Brew as well as the Bat, as long as Riki is stalking up somewhere nearby, they can bring all 5 heroes to the fray. And that is just a little bit too much for Virtus.pro to deal with if the Magnus isn't ready, which, as we mentioned, although he's getting a nice deny down on bottom, he's not going to have that Blink fast enough. And so the counter initiation is not yet prepared, and also Lone Druid, not that much tank. He doesn't have that much durability. His bear, is that really his all that he has? Am I missing something? He just got phase boots.
That's unfortunately that looks about right, Blaze. I mean, he just didn't have nearly the start that he had in game 1. Like, he didn't rotate quite as effectively. They were forced to bring him repeatedly to shore up the Magnus.
Yeah.
This is the huge difference between KSI Lone Druid game 1 and KSI Lone Druid game 3. In game 1, mid was fine, if not favored. So he could afford to just farm, get that early Midas, and get himself into shape, even though he didn't have the run of the solo lane.
Initiation on Ake should be pretty easy kill. He does have Mech and Hand of God if he wants to pop it off, though. And with
actually okay.
EGM, they're going to counter-initiate very, very effectively here. Loda raring to go on Santa. Nice pick off of the Hand of God, finishing off on Rubik.
That's nice, Bev.
But it's still not enough for Santa to live. Yeah, Rubik actually stole the Hand of God, immediately popped it off to try to help out Santa on the run, but they just can clean things up so nicely with the blinks, blink strikes, and they call it. They call it right here, 17-3. I told you, if they can do enough damage early in the game, Virtus.pro has no chance. And looking at these net worths, you see exactly what was accomplished. I was so surprised, but he has 3,300 KSI on the Lone Druid. 3,300 net worth. So honestly, not that much better on PL. sitting at 6,300. And if you can't get any tank, you won't be able to fight here. And it looks like they have found their easy opportunity when they took this Wisp on.
Yeah, I mean, VP wanted to take it late, but, I mean, the Lone Druid had to carry way too much freight. He had to help the Magnus. He had to stay mid when the Batrider was dominating. He had to jungle a little bit. I mean, Lone Druid that early, he had to team fight too. I mean, what's Lone Druid doing before he gets entangled team fighting? A whole lot of nothing, basically. And so, I mean, I feel like they relied too much on the late game when they knew, and game one signaled to them that that wasn't the way to go. The other interesting thing about this, Blaze, what does this game say about Magnus, or at least Magnus for these two teams?
For the match as a whole, you can definitely say that he can be shut down pretty hardcore if they put the pressure out. If they get supports that can roam effectively, then I'm not saying he's useless, but he has his limitations. The Skewer is kind of like a Mirana Leap. You have a very long cooldown at lower ranks. It's not even that great of a distance, and if you find those windows of opportunity, even in this scenario, Magic Wand helped out a lot, and you can give me your stats on that in a minute, but it wasn't enough. It was still too much rotation, and one thing that No Tide, I think, exploited pretty well is that Virtus.pro was so focused on helping out the Phantom Lancer and making sure the supports were getting nice farm in the jungle, and PL got every single last Airman was all set up, that they kind of left TMW high and dry on the mid. Like, we see other teams like Team Liquid and just being able to jump in, teleport into any danger across the entire map, but Virtus.pro seems to have a high priority on that safe lane and not as much as on the mid lane. And so when the ganks came on through and there wasn't as much rotation from Virtus.pro, it just didn't really bode well for them in any way, shape, or form. But obviously we see that in these games here with Magnus not able to accomplish much at all without that blink initiation.
Exactly. I mean, they did manage to shut down the Magnus repeatedly, and I thought this was a good series, and VP played their heart out in game one, and game two was quite interesting as well. In this third game, I just think it was a failure of nerve. I think they went back to what they know, when I think they had to push through a little bit out of their comfort zone, because when you're playing a team that's already beat you in the last 3 series, I feel like you can't just do the same thing. You can't just really play that safe. Now, VP are in a comfortable position. I mean, they're going to make the playoffs one way or another, most likely. So they had less to lose, maybe. But I would have liked to see them take a little bit more of an aggressive approach that we know they can pull off, and they pulled off very effectively game one. Still, though, a great series, 2 extremely high-level teams, and really it goes to show what I really like about this scene right now. Any of the top 10 teams can really beat any of the other top 10 teams, and that hasn't always been true, but it is true right now, and it makes these games really fun to watch. Yeah,
it just shows a balanced game and a different dynamic mindsets that people can pull out all the stops for these different games here. Real quick, for those in the stream and on Dota TV, if you guys want to jump on over to the live stream of twitch.tv/the Premier League, we're going to be going to a feature we call Ask the Pros. That's going to be in a post-match interview with one of the winning team members. So one of the members of No Tide Hunter will be jumping on the stream and answering some questions for you guys. So I'll be asking some myself, and then at a certain point in time, I'm going to be asking for questions from the chat, and we'll see. We've had Ake, we've had S4. We'll see who we get this time around, one of the repeats or maybe a different one. Who knows? Either way, it's been awesome to cast this game for you guys. Really exciting match. I'm sorry about the delays that kind of occurred between Game 2 and Game 3 based on the Valve server issues, but we finally got around to Game 3, and No Tide Hunter knocks it out of the park. Picks up that Ricky pocket pick that you just barely called ahead of time, and
in the nick of time.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they played it to. They got, I mean, a Bulldog blink that early on the offlane shows that he was so effective, just coming in through with a clap occasionally and stuff like that. He solved his mana. I mean, Arcane Blink on that Brewmaster just shows those 7 assists really made something happen for him, because he only had 60 last hits. It wasn't like he was farming the lane. He just found a window of opportunity to get that gold, and the assists really set him up for a great team fight potential. And when you have, like I said, 4 heroes out of 5 jumping on into a team fight across the map, and Chen available to Hand of God at any point in time, you are all set. So that's obviously what Virtus.pro realized right off the bat, and did not want to press that issue any further. They were too under pressure, and with that initiation and the lack thereof for TMW, it just was way too much for them to handle, and that means in this best of 3 series that No Tide Hunter takes the series 2-1. So do you have any closing thoughts on this?
No, I'm glad you brought up Bulldog, because I do want to say, like, if it hasn't been put to bed yet, the whole he can only play Lone Druid meme has to be put to bed, because that was a great Brewmaster game in the hardest lane for a Brewmaster to be in, and he never died. Against the tri lane stayed there the entire time for the express purpose of killing him, and they didn't do it.
Yeah, can we change the meme up a little? Can we just say he can only play bear type heroes or tree type heroes? He lives in the jungle, something like that.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a good evolution of it. And Eggum, honestly, too. Even in the game they lost, just the Rubik steals and his Wisp play, very, very crisp as well, honestly. But yeah, I don't know, that's it for me. Cool. Great games. No Tidehunter looking real good, honestly, real good. Your only hope is to somehow gank S4 10 times in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely, and it worked most definitely, and we see that, like you said, Magnus had those issues, struggled on through them, and I think that people are going to have to put a little bit more priority on how those mid matchups work on out, or we're going to see more issues with Magnus getting off the ground, because he really can't do too much in the off lane, and Jungle Magnus, as interesting as it may be, I don't find it nearly as effective either. So I think that they just need to support, teams generally need to transition to a point where they can support the Magnus a little bit better. But either way, this was some fun games. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the commentary. I am Blaze. You can find me at many different different social media type things. I got Twitter, I got YouTube, I got a live stream that I haven't used in a while, but anyways, they're all under /BlazeCasting, so you can check those out. And where can they find you, Vic?
Sure, so you can find me at Twitch, YouTube, Twitter. Those are the main things. Vikromond, VYKROMOND. And yeah, thanks for the opportunity, Blaze. Great series again.
Awesome. So we're going to go on to Ask the Pros. Look for one of the members of No Tidehunter there in a few minutes, and I'll announce that on the stream once we have that information of who it's going to be. But otherwise, awesome games, awesome opportunity to cast this, and thanks for coming on, man.
Yep. Peace out.